These are this afternoon's top stories. Major events announced for Independence 32. Trinidad and Tobago has a new government, and Russia is seemingly moving towards a military buildup in Syria. Good afternoon. Welcome to the ZIZ Mid newscast. Today is Tuesday, 8th September 2015. I am Nisha David. In national news this year, like in recent years, St. Kitts and Nevis independence celebrations will be spread out over the month of September. While the activities began late last week with the Taiwanese cultural performances in both St. Kitts and Nevis, the major events will be held between this weekend and the next weekend. Among the major activities are the state service of Thanksgiving on Sunday 13th, the patriotic programs in the Federation's schools, panel discussions on ZIZ television, the Prime Minister's lecture series on Tuesday 15th, the gratuitous payment to former sugar industry workers on Friday 18th, and the Independence Parade on Saturday 19th. Independence 32 is being observed under the theme United in Building a Stronger Nation. Last week, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund's Deputy Director, Min Zhu, met with the Chamber of Industry and Commerce for a brief discussion ahead of the IMF Growth Forum here in St. Kitts. At the meeting, Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris, said because of the technical assistance and the support the IMF has consistently given to St. Kitts Nevis, the country has been able to rely on that advice and support to weather many storms.
And indeed, much of the developments which will take place going forward, we are working closely in collaboration with the IMF, in a manner of speaking, to ensure that the policy prescriptions, by and large, would redound to the best benefit of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Meanwhile, the IMF Deputy Director congratulated the Federation and told the gathering that the country can become not only the champion of the region, but of the world because of its fiscal policies. He said the country has a strong economic performance.
We forecast this year, St. Kitts and Nevis have a GDP growth rate of 5%, which is very strong. Given globally, we just downgrade the global economic growth from 3.5 to 3.3, still relatively we call the mediocre. Given the sole Caribbean region in average growth rates is roughly 2.2, given the whole Latin American and the Caribbean, the growth rate this year is 0.4%. The 5% GDP growth rate is a fantastic number.
Members of the IMF were here for 2 days of intense discussions on financial growth in the region. The 2015 High-Level Caribbean Forum addressed issues such as reducing energy costs, financing infrastructure, and improving access to credit for the productive sector. More than a dozen Taiwanese youth ambassadors are now on their way back home after bringing a taste of the country to St. Kitts and Nevis. We hear more in this report.
Yes, everybody!
The 16 performers and their support team left St. Kitts Nevis on Saturday after 2 nights of performances that showcased Taiwanese culture and traditions. Earlier that day, the students took a moment to unwind and relax at the beach. A few told the media that they were happy with the reception of the St. Kitts and Nevis people.
I think it's perfect. People are friendly, and we had a lot of food to eat. The scenery was great, and this chance not only for us to know about your country, but also for your people to know more about our country.
How they like us. They like to hug, even on stage. They just hug us, and
we want a lot of hospitality. Yeah, we enjoyed very much and love this island.
Resident Taiwanese Ambassador George Gawe Chu said these types of cultural exchanges are among the ways that Taiwan hopes to introduce other nations to their heritage and culture.
Taiwan actually is a very tiny island state, and we cannot compete just as the Japan or India or even United States. But why Taiwan right now we can stand strongly in the world. I think the most important is our soft power, national power. And what's the soft national power is the culture, the people, which you can, from the performance, you can see how energetic these young Taiwanese they have. And so I think this is what we want to present.
According to a statement, the goal of the youth ambassador's visit is not only to highlight the vitality and kindness of Taiwanese youth, but also reiterate their commitment to issues of global concern, such as humanitarian aid and sustainable development. Jason Davis for ZIZ News.
Thanks, Jason, for that report. Regionally, in a cliffhanger, the People's National Movement, the PNM, won 23 seats to the United National Congress's 18, taking the PNM from opposition and putting it in office once again in Trinidad and Tobago. It was a night of shifting fortunes as the seat count for the 2015 general election fluctuated between PNM and UNC in the key marginal areas, the UNC maintaining a lead in the early hours of the count. Prime Minister-elect Dr. Keith Rowley, in a victory speech before thousands of cheering supporters at Balisier House this morning, said winning the election was a, quote, humbling experience, and that the PNM was now tasked with an awesome responsibility. Rowley stressed that while he came from the PNM, he would not be just the Prime Minister of the PNM, but the Prime Minister of all of Trinidad and Tobago. Now to the disaster in Dominica. A market chain in St. Lucia known as SuperG has teamed up with the International Rescue Group to donate $75,000 worth of household supplies in relief aid for Dominica. The International Rescue Group vessel disembarked to St. Lucia on Sunday, September 7th, en route to Dominica with 12 tons of supplies.
The government of St. Lucia is continuing to pledge its support to the recovery efforts in Dominica after Tropical Storm Erica ravaged the island. Last weekend, government officials teamed up with St. Lucia's largest market chain, Consolidated Foods Limited, CFL, to donate grocery items to those hit particularly hard by the cyclone. Cabinet Secretary Darren Montrop, on behalf of the Prime Minister, thanked the grocery store chain.
In the colloquial terms, it is during your own moments of darkness you'll see who your friends are. And so I want to be able to, on behalf of the government and people of St. Lucia, recognize CFL as a true friend of not just of St. Lucia, but of the region. Because it is in a moment like this, you see the speed with which they're able to generate such a sizable donation to the people of Dominica. So these things aren't to be overlooked. I mean, sometimes we treat, we don't often say thank you. We tend to be very negative, always critical, always finding faults with some things. But when companies like CFL steps forward and make this support, we truly want to be able to show with all sincerity our own thanks to you and for all of what you have done.
Martin Dorville is CFL's managing director. He praised his team for their efforts in coordinating the humanitarian assistance during his leave of absence.
I'm very proud of my team because I'm actually on vacation, and our spirit of love and care just came to the fore. So in my absence, they were able to rally a sizable donation for the people of Dominica. So Soraya, thank you very much. I mean, I know it took a lot of coordination and effort to get to where we are today. So thanks to all of you, and we wish the people of Dominica well. The process is only just started.
The government of St. Lucia and CFL also partnered with the International Rescue Group to aid with the transfer of relief supplies to Dominica. The executive director says they will target disaster victims in the areas that are difficult to access due to the complete destruction of roadways.
For the last 16 weeks in St. Lucia, we've been on hurricane season standby, and sure enough, here's a disaster. It's only 80 nautical miles away. And so we chose a good place, and we've loved being here in St. Lucia. But the need is Dominica. The people in Dominica, especially in the north of the island, are cut off. We hear bridges and roads are out, the airport is out, and they're having trouble getting food in.
The International Rescue Group has been in the Caribbean for close to 16 weeks on hurricane standby. It provides first-line support and humanitarian aid to disaster-hit people, using boats to deliver food, fresh water and medical supplies to help coastal communities until governmental or large-scale relief arrives.
Internationally, there are signs that Russia is moving toward a military buildup in Syria. CNN's Jim Shuto reports.
New Russian military personnel and equipment on the ground inside Syria, U.S. military officials tell CNN. Potentially volatile addition to a bloody civil war already 4 years old. Secretary of State John Kerry called Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to warn such actions, quote, could further escalate the conflict. An allegation the Kremlin dismissed as premature. What's unclear is who the Russians intend to fight.
Is it to shore up the Assad regime? Is it to fight ISIS, or do we know?
You know full well that the Russians have had a long relationship with the government in Syria, and again, it's up to the Russians to explain exactly what they're doing.
Satellite images show Russia has installed modular units capable of housing hundreds of military personnel, a defense official tells CNN. And this image, broadcast on Syrian state television, identified by analysts as a modern Russian-made armored vehicle not previously seen in Syria and painted in Russian army camouflage.
What the Russians might or might not be doing at the moment that is of concern to Secretary Kerry, and who would replace Assad? Who would replace any of the other groups that are fighting for power?
Syria is Russia's key ally in the Middle East. Moscow also has a strategic naval base at Tartus in Syria. If the fragile regime of Bashar al-Assad falls, so too may Russian influence in the region. Russia and the United States had been talking about finding a political solution to the crisis. Administration officials until recently expressing hope that Moscow was open to a future without Assad. Administration officials now making clear there is only one kind of military help the U.S. would welcome.
There's a 37-some-odd country coalition that's taking the fight to ISIL. We would welcome Russia to be more involved in that effort.
Several body parts belonging to a child have been found in Chicago's Garfield Park. CNN affiliate WBBM's Mai Martinez has the latest.
Police in Chicago are desperately trying to identify the remains of a child recovered in a lagoon at a local park this weekend. Because of decomposition, it's unclear how long the child's body parts had been submerged, and exercise weight was also found nearby. Let's get right to CNN affiliate WBBM's Mai Martinez. Mai, thank you so much for joining us. How were the remains discovered?
Well, Jake, Saturday afternoon, someone walking here near the lagoon spotted what appeared to be a child's foot floating in the water. That person called 911 to report it, and Chicago police responded. Once the determination was made that it was, in fact, a child's foot, the investigation began, and divers spent most of the evening on Saturday looking for additional remains. They did recover more remains that evening, and then came back out again on Sunday when they recovered additional remains again yesterday. And again, those remains are in very bad state of decomposition, so we don't know yet if this is all from one child. We do not know a cause of death at this point, but police are classifying this at this time only as a death investigation.
Mai, are there any reports of missing children in the area?
Right now, Chicago police are looking to any reports of missing children in this area that fit the description. They believe these remains belong to a toddler between the ages of 2 and 4. Right now, they say they have not found any missing child from this immediate area that matches that description. And again, they're still working with the medical examiner's office to try to determine the age, the sex, and the race of this child. So until those test results come back, it's kind of hard for them to move forward. But again, the top priority for the Chicago Police Department is to identify who this child is, so they can go forward with the investigation.
Taking a look at the weather, the temperature high for today is recorded at 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Sunset should be at 6:18 p.m. today, while the sunrise for tomorrow will be at 5:58 a.m. Winds are east at 12 to 18 miles per hour with lighter spells overnight. Seas are slight to moderate with swells not exceeding 4 feet. Today we should expect mostly sunny skies and mostly fair skies tonight with little or no shower activity. Meanwhile, a dry and stable mass of air will continue to linger across most of the eastern Caribbean over the next 24 hours. Therefore, from Hispaniola southwards to Trinidad and Tobago, skies will be fair to partly cloudy in general with very little shower activity. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for joining us. I'm Nisha David.